Welcome to the latest episode of the Target Practice Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. This show is for insurance agents who are ready to earn more target premium by growing their practices. In addition, Charlie and Bobby will share strategies on how you can elevate your business and provide an exceptional customer experience. Now here are your hosts, Charlie and Bobby.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Target Practice Podcast with Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford. This is the podcast for insurance agents who want to earn more target premium by growing their practices or improving their practices. And we're on number 3 here, Bobby. We covered the first 2. Why don't you give us a little review? What are the 3 parts we're teaching people?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've broken this down into marketing, sales, and then service, or we're going to call like showmanship, or another S coming up soon. Stylized showmanship for marketing, and then sales, and then servicing clients throughout the entire process for insurance or financial services in general, but particularly insurance.
And there's probably more stages when you actually do these things. But as far as our podcast categories, it's nice to have just these kind of 3 pieces, the marketing, the sales, and then the servicing. And the way we would define this right now is that the servicing starts really when they say, yes, I want to be a client. In our industry, that's when they say, let's sign paperwork. I want this term policy. I want this index universal life. I want this annuity, whatever it is that you're offering. They say, move forward, or at least do the underwriting, right? And so that's when servicing starts, not because in one sense, they've become your client. We don't have a retainer, right? This isn't an industry where, you give me $5,000 up front and then I'll start doing the work for you, like attorneys and things like that. But the retainer, by the way, this is one of the reasons that we are moving to a model, even with what's kind of defined as a lead of someone who's already left the market and put the money in the bank or in conservative managed money with whoever you work with and says, now what? The money's already moved. The divorce has happened before you as a dating service say, let's find you that new person,
Yeah, and we hit on that early on, that we as a company define marketing a little different than most. A lead for us, they've not just raised their hand and said they're interested, they've moved their money. And so there's like 2 steps to the marketing side for us. There is explaining to them that being in the market is not the best thing, and they have done our retainer. I'll use a lot of quotes since we're on video, but they've done our retainer by moving their money, signing our non-disclosure, talking about that step. Whereas we're a little different than most of the industry, that we don't just think anyone with a pulse that's raised their hand is a lead. But even if that is your marketing, there's nothing wrong with it. Like we said earlier, everything works. It's just a matter of finding the one that works for you.
Exactly. And anybody watching the video, have you seen the movie Frequency, Bobby?
Yes.
I feel like we're in Frequency, where I've discovered that you live in my computer or something, like I'm hearing someone from the 70s. If anybody can see the video, we're using a new software. And when we first put it on, there was a little bit of an issue. So we both had to create backgrounds really quickly. And Bobby's background it took him back 50 years. I'm not really sure why.
It did. For some reason, I'm in vintage tint mode. I've got a nice filter on. We'll fix this later, but this is all like, ready, fire, aim. We're going to correct it on the way.
nothing better than looking like you're in the 70s giving modern day financial advice, because everything has changed.
That's right.
Since the late 90s.
And some financial advice feels like it comes from the 70s, so maybe it's apropos, right?
That's perfect. Let's play good cop, bad cop. You're obviously bad cop because you're from the 70s. Right. You'll represent what people used to do. You just say, put your money in the market. We'll see what happens. That's it.
Just
put your money in the market.
Wait it out.
Just keep paying fees and I'll be on the golf course, and then we'll see what happens to you. Yeah. If it doesn't go well, I'll say I'm sorry, and then you'll go work at a blue company that I can't mention, where everybody's unhappy, right? All right, so let's talk about this. Yep. So in our industry, when somebody says the first commitment that you really get from somebody is signing something, it's not a huge commitment, but it is, even psychologically. By the way, if you read books like Influence and things like that, Robert Cialdini, like when someone. There is buyer's remorse. There's buyer's remorse. But there's also something in the human brain where we don't like to be wrong. So once we've made a decision, we start to create the reasoning for why it was smart, right? Yeah. So it is kind of helpful when it's what's best for them. This is not a way to hurt people, but when it's what's best for them, to bring them to that point of decision. As a matter of fact, sometimes we'll even underwrite somebody before we know exactly how much money they're moving and say, well, let's take the most. You have 500,000 that's not inside of IRAs. Let's put the whole thing into an index universal life. What's the minimum death benefit? And write you for that. It's like applying for a mortgage. If they say you qualify for a $4.3 million house, you don't have to live in one, right? You can just anything up to that, right? But at this point where they sign paperwork and you or your team, or if you outsource it like we're doing and we're building kind of a Ritz-Carlton, like stuff that insurance agents don't really want to do. Somebody just look, let me go talk to more families and then have a Ritz-Carlton servicing. Well, we're building it because we want it for ourselves. We're really building it for ourselves. But that, no matter what you do, that starts the service. That starts where they would either be comfortable telling a friend or not. Here's what's interesting. If you go to a restaurant and say, I would like a big juicy hamburger or a tofu burger, if that's how you roll, right? Yeah. You go, I want this thing, and they bring it to you, and it is what you wanted, but the experience is not pleasant. It smells. You see a roach. The waiter or waitress or whatever we're allowed to call them is rude, and it's just not a pleasant experience. It takes a long time.
Yep.
You really don't. We've noticed that people don't refer when they're satisfied or get what they want or expected. That's kind of the minimum level. As a matter of fact, if you don't get what you expected, you're really upset, right?
Yeah.
But it certainly doesn't get them talking. It doesn't create what we call talk triggers. Actually, we don't call that. There's a book called Talk Triggers where he talks about that. What creates talk triggers and what gets people referring or coming back is a pleasant experience. So this is actually, Bobby knows this. Most of you guys don't know this. Bobby knows this. This is where I bump up against a problem in the industry, because the industry is not really for people like me. It's not for people who are great it's not for sprinters. It's for marathon runners, right? Mm-hmm. I'm great in short distances with short relationships. I'm a great teacher. I come up with interesting things. In this industry, a person like me, when you do that, you then get punished with relationship and paperwork, right? This part here is really good for relational people. The German golden retrievers or whatever that personality profiling thing is. If you're relational, mm-hmm. and you like interacting and serving people, this is great for you to do. If not, you can outsource it, like I do. But this is where you get to shine. The curtain opens, and we'll see if they like the show or not. Good news is, you write the script, you're the director, you're the most of the actors. There are some other people, but we've learned some things here. But do you agree with me so far, Bobby, that servicing, if we're going to only have these three categories, the sale is done when they've said, yes, I want that. Mm-hmm. And they start, even the experience of doing the paperwork, which has gotten better. Online is better than what paper used to be. But that's part of the experience. Do you agree?
And I think that, to touch on a little bit of what we've discovered, so to reiterate what you said, you sprint, you are a great educator, you're great at getting people to raise their hand and want to take the next steps. For your personality, it's not ideal for you to have those long-term relationships where you're doing quarterly or annual reviews and over 30-year period. That's just not a strength that we have found. So we don't have those strengths. So what did we do? We built a company to do that. And you find that there are people in this industry. There are so many facets of this industry. I think you use the Frank Sinatra model, right? You got the Rat Pack, you got his band, right? But he can do all of it. But it's hard to go out and find another Frank Sinatra to not only market to you, but sell to you and help you be happy along the way for the process and at the end, and then always want to go have a drink or play golf with them. Like, that's a unique person. And as somebody who wants to grow an agency or somebody who wants to grow a business, you can't always be everything. And if you are everything, you can't replicate yourself. And that's where you struggled, is everybody wants to be like Charlie. Not everybody can. And you teach them. I mean, I'm one that raised my hand. I said, hey, I want to be like Charlie when I grow up, right? But the idea is that we who are good at sales and marketing are not always good at what we've called the underwriting company, but moving the money and making that magical customer experience over a long time. Whereas we've dubbed it the perception management company, right? Because even if you're doing everything right, if you're not communicating to them well, they feel like you're not doing anything. And so what we've learned with people on our team is you may have one of those 5 skill sets, or you may have a few, but the likelihood of having all of those skill sets is few and far between. And so we figured as we grow our company, we take Colby tests, we do disc profiles, whatever you want to use in your business, and you find out where people fit, what lights them up. If it's calling your client on their birthday or talking about their children's little league game.
What kind of? I want to see that baseball game. The little league.
Game.
Right.
I really
little leg baseball.
That, yeah.
Right? Are we allowed? Is that politically correct? Hey, are you going to the little leg baseball game?
A lot of steps taken in that one. A lot of steps.
Where's our laugh track? Didn't you find a laugh track?
I did.
All right. Now, would it be appropriate if I say something? Did it work?
Yeah. Our editor's gonna hate when I found all these buttons. But
can we get like a lady and those other people from like a Howard Stern show to say Baba Booey and just do weird things?
I'll work on that for our next.
Actually, will I get sued for saying that? Saying those words just now? Our show's not big enough. Whatever.
Not big enough. Yeah. So, but the idea is that if you fall into one of those categories, you can excel in this business no matter where you are if you find a way to supplement the other skill sets. For instance, if you're amazing at relationship and getting referrals and making people happy and prosperous along the way through this journey, you might fit perfectly on our team because we do not do that well. And so we go in and we're great at getting people to move money, understand the concepts, do case design, things like that. And we built this other company to support it. Whereas some people may not be good at what we do and they want to do that. It's kind of perfect. And that's what we've been discovering along the way.
You either build a team or be a part of a team. And I actually think I tried 3 times, although there's probably little ones in between, but at least 3 big ones, to build the entire team and run it and manage it and own the whole thing, and just and didn't work. It didn't work long term any of the 3 times. And the most successful model for me was when I said, I'm just going to do this one part and just pay. I mean, there's plenty of money to go around. The nice thing about this industry is we get paid really well, especially for an industry where the client doesn't have to write a check. It's neutral. It's budget neutral to the client. We're going from imagine if you could go even door knocking and tell people you could give them a new kitchen. You could remodel their kitchen. And let me look at your kitchen, see if you have the latest and greatest of everything, or if any of it's outdated. Maybe it's the latest and greatest of everything and you just don't like it. It's not better or worse, newer or older. You just want different, right? And imagine if you could do that to someone's kitchen remodel or replace their car, let's say, at no cost. Literally, you say, well, let me just look at all the cars available and see which one's the best one. And then you can have that one whenever you want to, right? And it's not a perfect analogy, but I am still, weekly, monthly, daily, just mesmerized by the industry in that respect that you get to go look at people's stuff, let's say, look at their finances, their decisions, what they own, what they're doing. Say, with your team and all the reviews that you do, you say, I think that's what's best. Great job. Or you say, I have really good news for you. And when they take advantage of your good news, whatever you're selling here, they say yes to it. There's no cost to them. Besides, by the way, the only cost is the time and whatever pain you create through your process. This is important because you could take a no-cost industry and make it hurt. Like someone says, I'll remove that filling for free, and then you lose half your face. You know what I mean? Or you can't eat for a month or whatever it is. You can have a negative experience.
Yeah.
So there's no cost where they write a check and it hurts, which puts us leap years ahead of every other industry. You know, you look at the timeshare industry where somehow still, when we all go in, I am not buying. You elbow the we're not buying, right? You don't take anything with you, and they're ready for you with financing, right? And for whatever free shiny objects they're giving away, it used to be cameras and trips and things, right?
Yep.
They still sell enough of them, and the price tag is like $20,000, $30,000, $45,000 and up, right?
Yep.
We have a 0 price tag, 0. To sell. So we're going back into sales because guess where I like to be, huh? Right? But then they say yes, and you get into the searching. You could mess the sale up bad. Time is not your friend in any sales industry. Time is not your friend here at all. If something happens, like they lose a job in the middle of 6 weeks of underwriting, it probably shouldn't change their mind. Probably nothing. There's no difference in what they should or shouldn't do.
Yeah.
What they will or won't do will change dramatically.
Yep.
So underwriting being faster, smoother. You've heard no news is good news, right?
Yep.
So no news is good news in the sense that you don't want the client receiving bad input or feeling negative or hearing bad news during the process because they could change their mind. However, no news is good news does not apply in this sense. In these industries, insurance, real estate, mortgage, things that have kind of an underwriting period, right? It's probably true of other industries I'm not aware of, but where there's this waiting to see,
Mm-hmm.
Clients, if you don't tell them what you're doing, they will think you're doing nothing.
Yep.
You have to give a weather report, a report card or a weekly, even a weekly, not a weekly I did nothing, but a weekly I'm on it and nothing has happened.
Yes.
And I'm not good at this. I'm telling the audience I'm not good at this, but it's important to take some of the stuff that I've learned and other people have learned that you're not good at or learned about what you're not good at and possibly learn from that and not make the same mistakes. In my opinion, someone has to do it and someone has to do it well or else the company suffers. And what's worse is yes, your paycheck is going to suffer. You're going to get less referrals, but the client is suffering. And this really is about them and doing good in the world and improving people's situations. And if you have followed my other podcasts, we can do incredible things. We could solve world hunger together if enough people let us review their policies and just find the wasted money, lower the fees or leave death benefit at no cost or refinance the thing and have extra income and give that to world hunger, the stuff that's going to waste, So it starts at the application, and then there's this underwriting process. So you have annuities are different than life insurance. Let's talk about life insurance first. Life insurance, I was told like 9, 10, 12 years ago that we were 2 years away from medical records being electronic. And once that happened, that underwriting would be like 4 days long, instead of weeks. Most of the time, if you don't know, most of the time in underwriting, I believe, if what I've learned over 18 years is accurate, is collecting the medical records from all the different physicians' offices, because somehow it's still a physical process or making photocopy. There's humans involved. It's not just like sign HIPAA. Oh, there's HIPAA. We can send like $100,000, but you can't send medical records, right?
Right.
But that's what takes the time, right? So managing the person's perception. Now you can build, anyone who puts some thought into this and builds a system, you can build positive surprises into any time frame, right? I do it all the time. I've been counting down to a special person's birthday and sending different things along the way. And I know when the day is, and it's a process, right?
Yep.
Well, you can create a 6-week system on your own. We're doing it. We can create a 6-week perception management system that every Friday, this is what I'm going to do. The emotion I want them to feel when this happens is this, right? Back here in the very beginning, I said, would it be okay if I ask a few personal questions? We're going to know each other for a while, and this is the way our company is. I like to do nice things on your birthday or when you have special days. Favorite restaurant, favorite food, favorite that. And then you wait like 2-3 weeks and send them their favorite bottle of wine or their favorite cookies. And they're like, how'd you know? that whatever happens inside of them chemically when they do that, wait, what? Wait, what? You know what I mean? They do that. That's what I mean by positive surprises. I like the book. You read it when I asked you to. I like the book, Mr. Schmooze. Do you like that book?
Absolutely. Yeah, and
it's pretty short, right?
It's a short read, Mr. Schmooze. If you didn't hear that, it's a great short read. It's spelled just the way it sounds, Schmooze. But the takeaway there is, for me, it was putting focus, structure, and emphasis on the event, on the process of whatever encounter you're going to have. We don't right now, since the last couple of years, we don't do a lot of knees to knees meetings, right? We do a lot of Zoom meetings, right? So how can you differentiate yourself through a kind of a process that's kind of out of your hands, which is the underwriting? How can you differentiate yourself and make the customer experience not just palatable, but pleasurable? And that's where you have to build in these little surprises. We're working on genealogy for our clients, right? A big surprise. Let us turn something over to you so the experience, because like you said earlier, there's enough money going around in this industry. We can do some impressive things for our clients. So how do we do that at scale? Well, we have to build systems. And it comes down to, if you need this in your life, you can find a company like ours that can do it for you, or you can build it yourself, take smaller paychecks in the beginning, hire someone, build this yourself. If you are been around this industry for a while, you may know all the ins and outs and where the stumbles are. If you're new, you may not, right? You don't know what you don't know. and you're leaning on your mentor or your upline or whatever kind of structure you're in to build that up. And if they don't know, you know what? So there's a lot of holes in this industry, and you have to have something or someone with a finger on the pulse. And if they don't build to scale, they have a great little business making $1 million a year. They're happy as shit. And happy as clams.
That's our podcast.
Yeah, it's true. I'm just used to I'm used to filtering. And that it comes down to, you have to build the business that you want. I do this with consulting clients all the time. You have to build a business that is scalable and saleable if you want to exit your business. Well, what we have done is support our weaknesses by building this. But let's take a step back. So insurance, you've got the application. Whatever company you're working with, you have the application. Then there is the blood work, the medical test. Then there's gathering medical records. Then they come back to you with the final design or the approval. And that could take 8 weeks. I mean, we had some of the biggest companies in the industry take months and months and months. Like I do not know why. We've not been able to figure that part out. But, they take so long. What does your client think is happening? Well, either if you're not communicating consistently at whatever interval you've set with them, they think you're not doing anything. Right. And there's a lot that is out of your purview. You call up and you're like, hey, what's happened? They're like, nothing. Oh, okay. And so you go back to the client, hey, nothing's happening. At least they've heard that you've checked. But how can you make that process and separate yourself? Because this is where the magic happens, is you can have an amazing marketing, amazing sales process. They get to applications and then 2 months of silence. Yeah. And at the end, you deliver a policy. They may have forgotten what they bought. If you're not communicating with them, they certainly have whatever you had brought them up to in level of happiness, they have come down. Whatever that looks like, they've come down. Yeah. And now how are you going to get referrals? How are they still going to be happy? You got to pick it back up and excite them again. And that's where salesmen do well. But you would like to not have to bring them back to where you were. You'd like them to, if they were at a 9, maybe they're only at a 6 versus down at a 2 and just generally upset with the process.
The real goal is, how do you build a referable process? A long time ago, I wrote a book called The Experience Economy. And the experience that people have is really what they'd be referring, or what they kind of associate with you. Yes, what matters is not who they get this through, but what they get. And we use that to sell and win business all the time. But what will make you referable while they're thinking about retirement planning, and it's in their reticular activator, that part of the brain is alive, will make them tell other people about you, is more how they feel. It's more the process. So you want to build this process on purpose. And there are times I feel like a hypocrite. I've been going back and forth knowing I wanted to say something. There's times I feel like a hypocrite. Then you have that when people can't do, they teach kind of a thing, right? Mm-hmm. I even have a new super famous consultant in my life, and I shouldn't say super famous, super amazing, and has done big things consultant in my life, And she mentioned that too. The reality is, building a system is different than operating a system. I'm pretty sure, and I don't know anything about this disease, but let's say I had narcolepsy and at times fell asleep, and they're like, you can't fly the spaceship. We can't have you falling asleep and flying a spaceship or fly airplanes or whatever. But I was the world's best designer, I could make one. The times that I'm awake, my brain was incredible, better than any other brain, And I will bet you there's examples of that in that whole world of brain stuff and things like that. This system, I can see it, I understand it. Running it is not my thing, but I call it the NMAT system, NMAT, never miss a thing, and then also the squeaky wheel system. So just picture this for a moment. What's the NMAT system? The NMAT system would be, whose turn is it? What are they to do, and by when? So if you simply had, you know this, you're like, why are you so screwed up, Charlie? Because I can't run it. I can think like this, but if you just simply had for all your cases, by the way, when you get to where you have so many cases you can't do these 3 things, that's a good thing. These are really good. These growing pains are good, right? Most people in the industry have big O, big C, little O, big capability, little opportunity. Their 40 hours a week is not full of money-making opportunities where they're unable to get to things. Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful problem to have. What you want to do is get it right while it's small, right? So that it grows. So never miss a thing, or what I call NMAT. Just whose turn is it? What are they supposed to do? And by when? The squeaky wheel system is that you check.
Yeah.
Now, if it's not you, that someone checks. Now, let me tell you my theory. I can't prove this to you. I'm almost 50. I've been watching humans. They're very different than I thought. Everything about life is different than I thought, but humans are very different than I thought. And they make odd decisions at times. I am also one, and I see it inside myself too, okay? If there's a firm, Jones Life Insurance, Jones Financial Services, whatever, and there's a small group of underwriters at a company, and every time someone from Jones whatever calls in says, and what's the next move? And who's doing that? And by when? Okay, cool. Thursday, I'll check in with you Thursday and see if it's our turn. And you do, and you're not mean. By the way, these companies are too big to pull the let me talk to your manager. That's not what I'm talking about. That's a restaurant, okay? Where they actually feel like it would hurt them to lose a customer or have someone talk bad. These companies are too big for that, in my opinion. I've not seen even the whiff of we don't want you upset. Not even close, right? We just don't matter. We're begging for something, right? And trying to figure out how to get what we want when we don't matter is more what it feels like. They're too big for the single agent or single. IMOs can help. IMOs can be big enough with thousands of agents. At times, even the IMO can't get through them. And we've actually seen that too. But my theory, Bobby, is the squeaky wheel system, if you always ask who's next and you always check. So on your side, it's the end mat, never miss a thing. Mm-hmm. Whose turn is it in your system or on your calendar? By the way, you could do this on paper, but in your calendar, you're like, I need to call on the Smith case, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
My theory is that those people on the other end, if you're professional and you always do what you say and you're different than other agents, when they come in the morning and there's a pile of work, might go, oh my gosh, it's Thursday. Louise from Charlie's office is going to call me, right? Or they might start to change the order they do things in or possibly like you. I mean, this is never going to change. If somebody likes you, they might do you favors or hey, look, I'm not supposed to do this, but didn't we used to get that at one big insurance company? We actually hired the guy.
Well, I'm just going to say, this is not just theory anymore. It's we did this so frequently with our team that we actually had some people from those companies join us, and they're part of our underwriting company. So that process of being the squeaky wheel in a very nice way. We're not trying to speak to anyone's manager or do any of that. You told us when to follow up. We followed up. What's your answer? Oh, you don't have it yet. No problem. Can you call me by the end of the day? That'd be great. And then if they don't call you, you call them the next morning. Hey, I missed your call. Just thought I'd check in. Very polite. Everything's wonderful. But they know who we are. And they know who Cindy is. They know who I am. And that process, you surprisingly speak to very few people at these massive companies when you're in those silos. If you're in the annuity big case bucket, right, or the high volume bucket, you get a very select few people. Right. And the same thing at insurance and everything else. So those process of being that squeaky wheel is no longer theory, even at large companies. I mean, heck, I did this at a Fortune 50 company. the squeaky wheel always works. It's just you do it in a polite way, and you have to have your own system. Otherwise, you do forget to follow up. And then the more you forget to follow up, the less they feel like the wheel's squeaking.
And here's something interesting. I would not suggest this be your marketing plan or that you expect to feed your family this way. But every person you talk to, if they ever have a family member or they themselves need someone to do their retirement plan, they're going to go, of everyone I know in the world, who do I trust the most? My challenge would be your interactions with them, with these they're humans. Yes, they work for a big company that doesn't care about you, but who you're talking to is a human being with things going on and goals and dreams, and they're another you, right? My challenge would be run your company and your systems, or this is why, could you hire a virtual assistant to just do these things? The answer is yes. The issue I have had with outsourcing these administrative tasks is that they're not administrative. They're the other part of sales. They are customer service, which means someone doing the administrative piece and not managing the perception is going to hurt your repeat business and your referrals. And now that's a sales problem. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it has to be somebody who's very relational and administrative at the same time. So my challenge would be, if I could just finish that thought, to try to make the bullseye, the goal to be the people that we interact with, if they ever have to make a decision what one company in the country to do their life insurance or their retirement plan, that they pick us, because they're like, those guys are more on it and more professional than any. We work with hundreds of agents, and these guys shine, right? Or if there was this will never happen, but if some company said, hey, every year, who's the best agency we work with, that somehow your name would come up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And you approach every interaction, whether it's a client or whether it's someone within the organization that you're trying to sell products for, as that you're trying to build that relationship. And impatient salespeople who are trying to get their client taken care of are not the best at building those relationships. I mean, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. We've both done this to those people. We're like, we put this in correctly, you dropped the ball. We had clients on our team call up and do all these client calls with agent or insurance company calls with the client on the phone. And I had to go get a recording of that call from within the company because they dropped the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
I did not make a lot of friends that day, but that's on me. But that's because I was trying to do best by the client. And that's why we need people who are going to do best by all the people in the 360. And that's where we come up with. We've solved our own need with this. This isn't preaching to what we have created. This is preaching to anyone who is thinking of leveling up their company, their own franchise, or individual business they're creating. You have to have systems to make yourself scalable. And those systems have to be replicatable. Otherwise, a virtual assistant won't do it, right? There's nothing for them to follow if you're like, oh, I always do this on the third Tuesday, but I never told you that, There has to be a system. You can turn over a playbook.
Yeah. And if you do outsource to a virtual assistant, because the real message is someone has to do it well. Yeah. So do it well yourself, or outsource it to one of the ways you can. Virtual assistant is one of those. I've used virtual assistants. Both my books were written. I wrote them and spoke them, and then she typed them and did the artwork and published them on Amazon, things like that. I love that. Well, I love that type of virtual assistant because there's no customers involved. Yeah. She's just doing work. There's nobody to upset or so if you do outsource, what you want, like if I outsource someone to mow lawns for me, I used to mow, let's say this is not true, but let's say I owned a lawn mowing business and I was mowing 20 lawns a day, and I was like, I don't want to do that anymore, but I still want the customer. I still want to be in the industry. Let me hire someone to push the mower around or drive it. How would I check? Call the client. How's the lawn look? Right? The result I want is that the grass is short and the customers feel served and happy, the same as they did when I was there. In this industry, if you do outsource this portion of the business, is the grass short? Is the customer happy? You're going to want to build into your system. At least my recommendation would be, does the money get moved and the policies get funded? And then, am I getting referrals? Is the client happy? Is kind of the same, but you also want to see turning into more clients, getting referrals and things like that. So it's really just that underwriting piece of this is definitely not my favorite part of the business, but it is when they're thinking about this the most, and it's the quietest, the most quiet, or however you say it in English, right? I could probably say it better in Spanish at this point. Is how you say it in English. I mean, it's the most calm period where you have opportunity to fill that empty space with surprises, with referable activities. There's going to be a delivery at some point. You can make that an event. You can find a way to make that more special than any other agent. You can put it inside of a beautiful wooden box. You can make a big deal out of it, have it delivered in some way that's shocking. Mm-hmm. If you're doing virtual business, if they're coming into your office, there's all kinds of fun things you can do. You don't have to just be blah, blah, right?
Yeah.
And then they become a real client. This is like really the difference between underwriting and customer service. I'm just saying that customer service starts when underwriting starts, but then they are just a client, or not just a client, but they are a client where the construction's done. You've built the house, and now the thing starts getting older every day. At some point we got to paint this thing and stay in touch. And in the housing industry, that's usually not the same company, but here we're servicing these policies annually.
Yep.
A few tricks. Again, I understand them. I outsource them. I'm not good at them myself, but they're going to get a letter every year, the 11-month letter that says, do you want to switch strategies if they're in something that's indexed? In the beginning, hopefully you put them in the one that has the highest upside potential. Please don't put them in a cap of 2.5%. So the S&P goes up 25, they can only make 2.5. Put them in something that if the stars align, they can make a really good chunk of money. And in month 11, they're going to get a letter that says, do you want to change strategies? And it's a very confusing letter. It would be confusing if they got it the day they signed the policy, the day they were thinking about it.
Yep.
11 months later, they're not thinking about it, and they get a confusing letter. Some of them will reach out. The perfectly run company, in my opinion, because I think it's terrible for trees, but we do get a copy of everything they send to the client. We get mailed to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think in the perfect company, you can give me your opinion, proactively, you'd be reaching out. You may have received the letter. If not, please give me a call when you do.
Yep.
And normally we don't change anything unless something drastic has changed in the industry, but I'd like to go over it with you, make sure everything's good. And then the next month they get the anniversary. And here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. This is a crazy industry because we have these things called segments. And if you don't know what a segment is, you're going to want to know this. You'll be a better insurance agent if you understand what segments are. In the indexed annuity and indexed universal life insurance world, a segment is that thing we talk about. When you say, hey, if the market goes down, you don't lose. If the market goes up, you make some of it. You make none of the losses, some of the gains. Over what period of time? It used to be just 1 year, annual point to point. Now we have 2 year, 3 year, 5 year, whatever, right? That period, that whatever they're measuring to then look at it backwards and say it's up or down, that is called a segment. It has to start and end at some point. To understand this, if you have somebody stop funding their 401k, pay taxes now and get it over with, and they put, they're putting $500 a month away, they stop, they put $400 a month away into an indexed universal life, an IUL, a LIRP, or whatever, 7702 plan, infinite banking, whatever you want to call it. Life insurance, right?
Rich man's Roth.
Rich man's Roth. Thank you. I missed one. They put $400 a month after tax money in. Every time they send $400, a new measurement has to start, a new 12 months or a new 24 months. Those are called segments. Monthly funded policies, the annual statements can be very odd because there's 11 of the 12 segments that haven't paid yet, and then some of last year's paid.
Yeah.
And annual funding, like lump sum funded IUL, not lump sum, but 5 pays, 3 pays, 7 pays, things where they're putting a chunk in at the beginning of every year. The basic after 1988 E.F. Hutton strategy of, you have a bunch of money, put it in as fast as you can, 4 years in a day or whatever you're doing. Those are even more difficult. And the reality is sometimes insurance companies approve the customer and then you transfer the money, 1035 exchange, or they approve the customer and then they send the money in, or they approve the annuity, then they ask for the money to be transferred. And you have a policy anniversary. It happens on life insurance a lot. The anniversary, let's say, is March 15th,
mm-hmm.
but the money wasn't invested until April 8th. So the segment is a week, 2 weeks, 3. It happens to me all the time. A week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks after the anniversary. Well, guess where the statement comes out? The annual statement comes out on the anniversary with no earnings. No earnings. Okay. The system is the solution, right, Bobby? Every time you see a problem, you go, how do we create a system where this is minimized or never happens again, or it doesn't surprise us? We know this is going to happen. Whenever they get their statement, there's probably... So maybe here's the system. We're creating it as we talk. The 11th month letter is coming, or you call the week after, whatever. Maybe you send an email the week before.
Yep.
I'll be calling you in 2 weeks because you will have probably received it by then. And then you call. You go over the changing of investment strategy and interest crediting strategy or not. And you say, now you're going to be receiving your statement. And then you look this information up ahead of time. However, your anniversary is March 15th, but the segment, the when they pay you, does not happen until April 8th. So you will not see your earnings. It doesn't mean you don't make any money. I just looked at it. The market, the index you're in is up. As long as it holds on till April 8th, you should be fine. You're on track to make, 8.5, whatever. But I am going to call you, not when your statement arrives. I am going to call you April 11th or whenever you're available. You hear what I'm doing here?
Yep.
You're staying in touch with them, you're walking that. This is leadership. That's what they hired you for. Lead me to, get me to and through retirement. That's what we tell people, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just proactive leadership with things that And again, either do it or outsource it. There is not a right or a wrong. Should I do my own dishes? There's no right or wrong. Someone should do the dishes. And I don't even think there's a right or wrong there. But at some point, you can't walk in the kitchen because it's all dishes, right? If you never did them, right? And it's pretty stinky, Someone needs to be doing this, you or someone else, virtual assistant, outsourced company, whatever it is. But in my opinion, this is where, so you have marketing, top of the funnel. You get a bunch of leads, so to speak. You come down here, this is why they call it a funnel, by the way. The numbers get smaller. You start with 100 leads. You come down here, you have sales process. You have yeses. Okay, customer service starts and operations. You come down here, some of them even fall out. The funnel gets tight. But then you have clients. You build a database of clients. If you find 100 clients a year for 5 years, you're done, right? And guess what? Year 2 is easier if you get referrals because you only have to find 80 and the first 100 send you 20. Next year, you only have to find 60. Easy peasy. You don't have to do it that way. I had 12 clients in my first year and made multiple 6 figures. You can do big cases, but you get these clients. Now, the top of the funnel, you can still do marketing, but guess what? Every year, that top of the funnel should be some people coming back out of here.
Yep.
Because that client that bought life insurance, the father passed away and left me $1 million. I just got that call, right? I left my job. Remember the 401k that I couldn't touch for $113,000? Can we now move that? I just got married. We have a house to sell. We both had houses. We have a house to sell. This is an incredible industry where if you're just there, I know I'm not letting you talk very much. I'll ask you for forgiveness later. This is 18 years of messing up underwriting. Where I'm saying, don't do it. Don't do what I did. Messing up underwriting and customer service. And finally now we're working it out where the clients are getting a good level of service. And here's the thing. I know it sounds like a long time from now, but 5, 7, or 10 years from now, when your policies that you're selling are out of surrender, and sometimes earlier than that, if you have an MVA, a market value adjustment, you get to refinance these policies. $300,000 annuity and make $21,000 or whatever you're making. You come back in 5, 7, 10 years, the same client. Hey, I found a way to make it better. This is not churning. This is a fiduciary. If you would replace it for you, annuities get better. They now have increasing income based on index returns versus level income forever. They now have dual lifetime income inside of IRAs where when you sold the first one, by the way, can you tell I'm speaking from experience? When you sold the first one, the husband has to turn, or the wife has to turn on only for her life. And if she dies, he gets nothing. The fiduciary in you, whether you have the license or not, the fiduciary in you is very valuable. If you can stay on top of these things and go, when is what's the trigger and when is it time to refinance? There's so much repeat business in all of our databases. The hardest year you'll ever have is the first year.
Yep.
But if you get this right and get the referrals you should get and get the feelings into them that they should have, if you learn from my mistakes and other people's mistakes and go, Bobby, if I had every email address of any person that ever went to one of my seminars or said, I want to hear from you, and I had a really easy list of every client and everything they owned and their dates and all the triggers, and on month 11, I had called everybody and then told them about the annual review and that I'm not calling you till after if I had done that for 18 years, I would be I'm in a wonderful place. I would be in a very, very incredible place. But more importantly, the clients would have gotten better service, which I want for them, and sent more people, which is the mission. It is the mission to stop, to help these people that are being lied to by the big money management, the mutual fund junkies, and being told that risk with a side of fees is the answer to every financial plan in the world, every financial problem on the planet. We're in our own way if we don't get this right. You don't have to like it, okay? When you learn ballroom dancing and put your body in that weird position, you're like, that feels weird. Don't do what feels good. Bobby, you play golf. Don't do what feels natural. You'll suck, right? Feel weird until it's natural or until it's not, and do it anyway.
Yep.
Okay? Learn the basics. These are basics, but they feel weird and they're not natural, and they are hard to do. It is hard to have a good golf swing. It is hard to put your body in a ballroom dancing position. I'm trying Latin dancing. Hello, gringo. It is hard to put your hips. You know this. You do some salsa, right? Bobby's got the hips that don't lie. Mine are telling mentiras, right? Mentiras.
So to bring this back, and we probably should have put this at the intro, because hearing what you said, like this is kind of what we're talking about. This is the basics. I use quotes again, but it's very difficult to figure this out. And we're like, all of these are your hard-earned lessons. But if you can do this, and what we have built does this for us, but if you can do this, put the client on your radar 9 months out. I think you should have a 3-month touch point with each client. And it's just, hey, what has changed in your life? You know, did the kids make it to college? Did you have the grandkid? Whatever it is in your life, and in the client's life, I should say, you touch base with them. If nothing's changed, great. I'll talk to you in 3 months. Great. I'll talk to you in 3 months. And they know to expect your call. They get in the habit of, oh yeah, that's the questions Bobby always asks. Bop, 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 bop. Yep. Or better yet, it's someone on your team that does that. If that's not your strong point, great. Then they tee it back up for your annual review. They tee it back up for your next steps with the clients. If I can't tell you, I've been in this business 1 year, right? I can't tell you how awesome it is to see things on my calendar when I look at the 3-month and 1 month views, where I can say there is an anniversary coming up from a client, and I need to pull the report from this product that they have and talk to them. That's already coming up on it feels like I just started in this business, but that's already coming up on my clients, on my radars, because of the systems we have put in place.
I feel like a proud papa. Yeah. You say I've been in this business for a year.
Yeah. And had you had that the entire time in that system, oh my goodness, like what we've built now and the growth you've seen me come through in a year, like we've ripped our hair out building this because I didn't know what I didn't know. But now we've got happy clients. They're bringing us referrals. We're currently working our way through an entire firehouse as we're helping these firemen retire, right? Because one guy went through our process, loved it, brought his friend, and they are loving the process so much that we are now going to be traveling up there to give a live presentation, with assuming COVID and everything continues to lift.
I can't stop thinking, whenever you talk, I just can't stop thinking about marketing. I'm like, are you tired of being a fireman? It's time to retire, man. Let's get this fireman to retirement, right?
And everybody in this episode clearly knows where your passion is.
Exactly. And somehow I got through this.
And neither one of us really enjoy this part, but it is the most necessary, especially if you don't enjoy this part. Because you're going to light up doing the other stuff that we're going to talk about, marketing and sales and all the layers there. But this is important because this is where the customer experience either glows and the referrals come in like what we got now, or it falls to crap and you got to save it because you're a good salesperson or whatever your skills are. And having to save it every time makes your life chaos.
Yeah. This is the low-hanging fruit, is to make people happy and have them send you people for free.
Yep.
Let me encourage people. You never know who's going to listen to podcasts. It's amazing to me 5-6 years later, my other podcast, how people find it, who listens, who shows up. You never know who's going to end up here, but I'm assuming it's insurance agents that want to make more money or want to do a better job or enjoy their jobs more. You have been in the business a year. It wasn't perfect. You agree there's been mistakes that cost you money.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I daily talk about how we can make it better, improve it. It never gets better. The basics, they sound easy. They're basic. But if you told somebody basketball is just get really good at dribbling, really good at passing the ball to other people, and really good at shooting it into that little hole, that's all. You work on that for the rest of your life. Golf, just put the ball in the hole. Hit it down there and put it in a little hole, right?
Yep.
But the basics here would be find people who want what you can do. If I could do this for you, would it be worth this from you? Conversation or watching a video, whatever. Explain it to them well. Show them what they have and what they could have. Mm-hmm. And then get it done. Get it put through, right?
Yep.
Did you make 6 figures in the last 12 months?
Yes.
Did you make multiple 6 figures in the last 12 months?
Yes.
And did you have to charge anybody any fees up front?
No, which blew me away coming from corporate America and all the things that we did there. It is actually a budget neutral strategy. It is actually a budget neutral for them across the board. So to me, to see that, this is a very backward industry from what I have experienced in my life. Not that it's wrong or right. It's just different. And the sale here takes a day. Hey, let me build your plan. Let me show you what's going on. Let me educate you. Let me work, especially with our marketing, like down to, which item at the grocery store do you want? Okay, great. I'll get you fed. But then to go months without getting paid, very weird. Very weird. And so that process, from my experience in this industry, has been very strange. And we have fumbled along the way. We've lost clients because of these things and that things. And we've also, most of the objection is this sounds too good to be true. And, you educate around that. But on the back end, we get paid and multiple six figures. And that has continued into my 13th and 14th months. And I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, I honestly think this is going to be the most financially lucrative year of my life.
Yeah.
And it is all because of learning and working with you. As far as everything we do has been, okay, we learned something here. Let's implement it so our other agents don't have to deal with that. We've learned something here. Let's manage that perception going forward. And you're never going to get it perfect. But if you can take what you learn, and if you learn from us without having to do that yourself, holy crap, you're going to be so far ahead.
This is why it's so fun when I talk to you, because like I think of things I've never heard of before. You say things differently, and you come up with great stuff, and it triggers me. I'm like, we should actually say that to clients. You actually say to prospects, say, listen, this is a very weird industry. You don't ever have to write a check. You don't have to buy anything.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't even be called the sales department. It could be the compares department, right? So, but in some industries, you pay up front and then you get what you want. In this industry, I pay up front. I have to give you 2, 3, 4 months of my time and work up front and maybe get paid.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's different. A lot of agents don't like it. It's hard to find somebody in this industry, but I've found a way to do that. I just think it's interesting to go like that. So maybe I do need to change the names of the departments from marketing, sales, and customer service to education, compares, and perception management. Those are really the names of the. It's really what we do. We don't sell. We just compare. What do you have? What could you have?
Yeah,
that's it. That's the whole process. Don't you think that's the whole process?
It really is. It really is. And then it's the perception management. I tell people right up front, no commitment. I'm working with you to find what fits for you, and I do a lot of work for free. But when it works for you, it's going to work for me. And I tell them how I get paid. I tell them all the specifics, because there's no scam here. It's just a very different industry.
Yeah.
And when we're getting paid 5 figures for doing 2 days worth of work, holy crap.
It's nice. It's nice, right?
Very nice.
And that's why people abuse it. The opportunity that you have in the integrity side of this business is because so many people abuse it, that if you're that little dim candle of light, people can see you.
Yes.
And that's what I've done in 3 industries. You come in with integrity, and if you're a little bit, if people see you and you have a little bit of it, you're very bright, because the rest of it is dark. That's an opportunity. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we'll shut it down here. But to me, it sounds like the 3 departments could really be summed up like this: marketing, or what I was calling education a minute ago. It's really offer things to people at no cost. Show people things. Like offer them to watch something, to hear something, to talk to a human, right? To read something. Mm-hmm. Offer things at no cost to people. If would you do this if it would do this in your life? Whatever. In the sales department, or what I called compares, you say, here's what you have, here's what you could have. That's it. Simply. So you offer things to people, comparisons, probably, right? Or education. Mm-hmm. Then you compare what you have to what you could have, and tell them you should stay if you have the best. And then in the other department, you are getting the job done and creating a sensation, getting the job done and depositing feelings inside of their emotions on purpose. We're creating chemical. The machine, the output of this process, a machine, should be physical inside of that body. Yes, it's a service industry. Yes, it's non-physical, non-tangible. Can't really see it. It's not like you're buying a car. But it is physical what needs to happen inside of that body, or those 2 bodies if it's a couple, in order to get referrals and make this perpetual. Does that make sense?
Yep. And I think the next time we talk about these topics, or as we work our way through, we're going to talk through the specifics. I know we're going to work through marketing and sales and all the different ways you can do it. And we're going to give you tactics. The same will happen when we talk about the servicing of clients. If you are an IUL or whole life person, taking the death benefit down in year 13 is a wonderful tactic you will not get paid for. But I guarantee you referrals that you can deal with, because they're going to be so happy that what you've done. And that's just one tactic. And we'll walk through a lot of specifics going forward. So this is our 3rd episode of what we're going to be talking about. But the idea here is that as we move forward with these weekly podcasts, you will get actionable tactics to implement. They may not all be for you. You may not want to do dinner seminars, but they are going to be for people who implement. You will make more target for you. I guarantee that.
Exactly. More target and grow your practice. All right. So Bobby. Well, he's Bobby. I've been Charlie. Charlie Jewett and Bobby Alford, Target Practice Podcast. We'll see you next time. We made it through the 3 general introduction podcasts, and now we're going to start getting nitty gritty and dig down into it with all these kinds of strategies, lowering the death benefit. Some policies, I didn't even know this until several years ago. I call up and you go, can I lower it? Some of them even do it as early as year 7 and 8. I have one that might even be earlier right now. It doesn't make sense to me, but if they tell me he's allowed to do it, let's do it, right? Let's do it.
All right. We'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Target Practice Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you have time, please subscribe to the podcast and consider rating and reviewing the show. We'd sure appreciate it. And for show notes, resources, and to connect, shoot on over to targetpracticepodcast.com. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Target Practice Podcast.